I could get better. Are you streaming to your channels?
Not at the moment. You got all the power in your hands.
I'm streaming to your channels.
Okay, so to my.
You put a comment in the private chat, so you have to put that comment in the public chat, right? Anyway, now we're gonna get a few more people now.
Okay, let me copy and paste that. Have we been chatting not live?
No, I said my mistake was I didn't go live.
Did all that message not go live?
No.
Okay, I'm gonna have to say it again. Welcome.
Several times.
You know what they say?
Hey,
they
see us on LinkedIn.
They never work with.
They never work with any.
Never ever work with children, right? Okay. Animals.
So now there's four of us here. There's four people in the audience.
Don't worry. Apologies.
Okay. Go on, Christian. I'll keep quiet.
They say never work with animals, children, right? And in our case now, an adult.
Or any. It's any.
So I'm going to have to go through all of that again. Sorry?
Most adults so far, and it's any that's
with adults so far. Okay, or is it just with any? All right, so welcome. Apologies if it looks like we are late to this show. It's because we were speaking, forgetting to put on the live or even stream to live.
Indeed.
As I was saying.
You actually have to press the button that says go live. You see that?
So my first live, and we're not even on live, thinking we're on live. So let me do all of that again. Welcome. It's so good to see you guys here. Thank you for joining us.
Should we start again? Should I play the starting music again?
Yes.
I'll do that just for you, because it's you, right?
To your drama, chase success with Global.media.com and celebrate it with or without champagne or rum.
Hello, and welcome. So we're starting again because guess what? What happened was we were speaking to you guys, thinking we were speaking to you guys. We were offline the whole time. My first live. They say never work with animals, right? And children. And now adults in the size of any live. I'm joking. Live. So thank you so much for being here. I want to say thank you and welcome for always supporting us, for always having our back, for always showing up to tell your stories, to share your journey and your experiences with us. We so appreciate you. And we love that you're here once again. Thank you so much. Yes, Madam Heavens. Yes, thank you so much for that. Welcome, Sandra. Nice to see you here too. So when I first heard that LinkedIn audio was disappearing, I'll be honest with you, I had a slight panic for only a few moments. And I had Annie tell me to just not panic, breathe, and get my head into it. So here I am on my first live, wanting to continue the great work and room and community that we have garnered throughout the whole time. Today for me, it's about really speaking to you guys about the last episode. So because I'm transitioning from audio to live, I thought what better way to be able to just look back. So this is a kickback, a look back at the 15 episodes that we all shared together during LinkedIn audio. Okay, so I just want to say thank you. Hi, Frank. Hi, Sam. Welcome. I just want to say thank you and to look back at the most popular questions that came up time and time again during our time together, both whilst we were live on audio and in my DMs. My DMs were blowing up with questions all the time. And so I thought, why not take the opportunity to be able to just answer those questions and to invite you once again to come up on stage and join us. You know, as you know already, if you know this by now, I love interactions. I love people joining in and discussing all about miscarriage, baby loss, and how it impacts, influences, and how it affects your daily life. So if you haven't been with us before, if you haven't joined us before on our audio rooms, I'm Christina T. Johnson, and I am a miscarriage and baby loss coach. And I am really passionate about this topic, mainly from a personal experience, And when I began my journey, when my journey began, I really wanted answers. I really wanted to have someone give me some advice that wasn't just sat in front of a therapist, a talking therapist. It was about really getting practical advice, really having someone to listen that had gone through what I was going through, that had something to offer, both at home, in social spaces, and in the work environment or business environment, rather. So for me, that was what was missing. And as I took to looking for answers, I began to find that this trauma that 1 in 4 women will go through, 1 in 8 couples will really struggle with fertility issues and challenges, isn't spoken about. It affects the UK, economy at a tune of 100 million a year, and yet we don't talk about it. It has such a negative impact, on women and men that go through this. We have employers that are not sure how to deal with, how to cope with, those who experience this trauma within the work environment, with policies in place that are sometimes ineffective and sometimes no policies in place to support those experiencing this trauma. So that's me. That's what I do. I help you really find a way to move forward. With that being said, I'm going to pass it over to my co-host. Annie, please introduce yourself.
Hello. Simone, I see you. I see you on LinkedIn. So the Sandra is here. Simone is here as well.
Yay.
I wish LinkedIn wouldn't do this LinkedIn user thing. I don't know what it is. On LinkedIn, I can see who it is. So Sam Hall, welcome as well. My friends, if you're here, let us know, please, and drop us a comment. Unless you drop a comment, we don't know you're here.
Yes,
we see the numbers of who you are. So drop us a comment. If you've got a question to ask, feel free. If there's anything you want to say, your logo looks quite good now, Christiana. The logo parts. No, never mind the words.
Yes.
That picture kind of pops, and I say they had the crane in their hands, kind of pops.
Love it.
Welcome, everyone. Olawumi, I don't know why we're trying to ignore you, but we're not ignoring you.
No, we cannot ignore the beautiful Mrs. Heavens. Seriously, we can't do that. She's a star.
You see, but now, as you're saying, it's a hard topic to talk about, right? It really is. Yeah. Welcome, Chinella. I don't think we've seen you in our lives before, so welcome. I saw my first Nigerians doing their lives today, so that cheered me up.
Yes.
Of course, this is a difference to audio in that there's more data requirements. There's more people wondering about how they look. Stop wondering how you look. You look great.
You look awesome.
You do. You really do. No, don't say my makeup is on. My hair is on.
Thank you.
Just about, but literally, if you think it's come and help us, let's just learn from you.
Awesome.
So what do I do, Christiana? What do I do?
What do you do? How do you mean? What do you do?
I make these events happen, right? I bring superstars to the world. I showcase the stars that we have. I literally want people to know who my friends are. I want you to know their greatness. It has been on audio till now, but now that we're in lives,
he's
doing lives, en masse.
You make them famous. The other thing you do as well, Annie, is that you get people to become bestsellers at several times bestsellers.
I help them to write their books, publish their books, and then make them best-selling authors. It's a gift we have. I think I've just done Dr. Roxana 2 days ago.
Yes, the list is going.
Tuesday, The Monday with Dr. Roxana's book, and she got 10 or 8, 10 bestsellers.
Yay!
So
Awesome.
that's good.
Love
And
it.
then I'm thinking, and then Paulette's was on Tuesday. Was bestseller for a new book, Jack and Water, New School Niggles. And amazing, we got 32 awards for the book. So 16 bestsellers, 16 hot new releases.
Check you out. Stop showing off.
I'm good. I'm really I'm good.
Stop showing off.
All right. I amazed myself this time.
Let's kickstart. So awesome. I love that. Annie. So I guess I can hear the reminder again. Where is yours, Christiana? That's the thing you said to me. Cyrus said the same thing to me. Marlene said the same thing to me. I think the question is, when is it happening? Guys, watch this space. You never know. You just never know. I'll keep you posted.
No, we do know. You said you promised us by April. They said by first quarter. You said.
And you stop it.
Miscarriage and Baby Loss.
All right. So you're holding me to that. I wish I don't say anything now.
Now all the people know now as well, so they respect. They wait.
Welcome, Ifewa. Welcome, Ife. Nice to see you here. Hi. So we're going to kickstart this with the first episode. Do you remember our first episode? Any? Shall I remind you and the viewers? So our very first episode was Miscarriage, Why Me? Breaking the Silence. Okay. Hi, Lisa. And the question that kept coming over and over to me, both when we had the event and in my DMs, is how do we break the silence? Because as we know, miscarriage was something that people didn't speak about. When I went through my own personal journey, I began to discover that a good amount of people that I knew had gone through miscarriage. I had never been told, I'd never heard about their experience. I didn't know they had even been through, miscarriage. And I remember back then when I asked the question, one of our kind of ladies in our circle, her mother had been through 8 miscarriages. So she was pregnant a total of 10 times, in her lifetime, and only had 2 children to show for it. And the rest were miscarriages. And despite knowing her mom and seeing her, it's not written on our foreheads. So you never know. Nobody writes what they're going through on their foreheads. She seemed well put together. She seemed okay. She was a very jolly person. And I began to think, wow. So if she had been through 8 miscarriages, that means we don't really talk about this. And so the question in our first episode was breaking the silence. How do we break the silence? That's right. Mr. Olawumi said, I didn't tell anyone for a whole year. For me, my own personal journey, and thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that completely. I didn't tell anyone with the first miscarriage, full stop. Nobody knew. Welcome, Dr. Vivian. Nobody knew. Nobody was aware. I didn't say a word to anybody, not even my husband. And that should tell you a lot. We talk about everything. And so for me, the important thing, the question is, why do we break the silence? We break the silence because it's so important that we do. By breaking our silence, we get to tell our story. We get to share our experiences. We get to let others know. And by letting others know about it, it gives them the courage. It gives them the confidence to be able to come out and say, I too have been through this. And for them to learn, to seek that help, that support that they need, to ask questions that they may have been carrying around. And in my experience of doing this, the key thing here is to really prevent the breakdown of relationships. Okay? So miscarriage affects us in the home, as well as in the workplace and in social spaces. And so breaking the silence is really key because you're able to interact with your husbands, your respective partners, and be able to alleviate that stress and that burden that we carry to begin with, and to really look for a way forward, right? And the reason why it's important is because we can go into different spaces and hear the people's story. It removes or eradicates the shame that we feel, the judgment that we feel is placed upon us, the whispers that happens in this case. And it's so important that we continue to share. So that's one of the most common questions I was asked, like, why do we break the silence and how do we break it? We break it by actually talking about it. I know it sounds really simple and cliche, but that isn't always the easiest of thing to do. How do you tell somebody, at work, for example, or even your friends around you, that I've just had this thing happen to me? I've just lost, a baby, especially in cases where nobody knows you're pregnant to begin with. How do you now tell people, by the way, the baby that you didn't know, wasn't aware of, that was inside of me is no more, right? That in itself is a head twister, because you think, well, I didn't know you were pregnant. Now you're telling me you have no child. And so it's really important that we talk about it, that we really get to share those stories and remove the fear, we remove the barriers to moving forward. In a work environment, in a workplace, we must break the silence, because it impacts our mental, our physical, our psychological, emotional well-being. That then in turn interprets into our productivity at work. And I know that we shouldn't think of productivity when you're going through this. But if your managers, your HR managers, if your CEOs, if your bosses, whoever it is that you answer to at work is unaware, and your colleagues are unaware, and it looks like you're not really doing the work or the job you've been employed to do, that in itself could really work against you and further have an impact on your mental health. And so that's why it's important for us to break the silence, so people can come forward and speak. And breaking the silence means that it allows somebody else around you to be able to share. And then what happens is you have someone else that you can actually speak to about it. You can share, that commonality and be able to feel supported. If there's someone else at work, for example, that you're going through it, you can challenge policies, you can challenge things at work, because there's two of you. Sometimes when there's only you may feel afraid to do so because you don't want to be the person that's been difficult at work. So it's so important that we break the silence. It's so important that we don't hold on and we don't further affect our health and well-being. That's the reason why. That's one question that kept coming up in our audio, why break the silence. The second one, episode that we had, if you remember any, we looked at, is miscarriage still a taboo subject? Now, for me, this was a big one. It was a big one because, as I just mentioned, breaking the silence is important, but the fact that it's looked at, miscarriage is viewed as a taboo subject, tells us the fear, okay? The fear in how we are afraid of judgment. We're afraid of being, of shame. It's that thing of feeling the shame that we feel leaves us really open and vulnerable. And in any space, whether in our personal space or in our workspaces, when we feel vulnerable, we become reluctant, to share, to have a conversation, to speak. And it's taboo because there is so much myth and misconceptions that surrounds this topic. So people still think miscarriage was, is it that? How do you know? I remember somebody asked the question was like, how do you know that person's going through that? How do you know they're actually telling the truth? And they look happy, they look fine, they look okay. The misconception is we look at physical things and we look for physical evidence, but we don't think about the mental impact. We don't think about the emotional impacts. And sometimes, not even sometimes, I know some of my clients have been called, or you're acting a bit weird, or you've changed. without really asking the question, why is there a change? Why have you changed? What is going on with you? And so with this, it's looking at, and also the third thing is the cultural, I would say cultural norms that should not be norms. Things such as, oh, you must be cursed. If you've had 2-3 miscarriages, then I think I think you must be cursed. You must be from a cursed family, which further imprisons the person going through it in their mind, in their emotional well-being. It's a taboo because people are afraid of the unknown, the uncertainty. They're not sure what to say. They don't know how to tackle. They don't know how to, ask questions. They're afraid of perhaps asking the wrong question. They're afraid of being the first person to ask the question and getting it wrong. And therefore, let's not talk about it. If we put it under the carpet, it will just go away. The truth is, it doesn't go away. That's not what happens. It does truly impact the person experiencing it, because for the most part, they do want help. They do want that support. They do want to have someone be there for them, support them, love them, care for them. And in these moments, when they're going through things like negative self-talk, it's really difficult to hear anything positive. So when positivity comes along, they grab it with both hands, because it's what keeps and what sustains us to get up from our bed the following day and leave our homes to go into different spaces. And so it's important that we ensure that we're talking about this so it is not a taboo subject. Taboo, the word taboo itself really conjures of shame. And there is no shame in having a miscarriage or baby loss. There's no shame in that. It is not something that is our fault. Or we think, again, a misconception is, oh, you must have done something wrong. You must have, either done too much exercise, not eating well, or like I mentioned before, you're probably cursed. All of these things that I've heard myself over the time I've been doing this is the reason why I do what I do, because I have to ensure that I address this. I have to ensure that people get to understand that miscarriage, the reason why this happens, is still being researched into. There is still research being carried out about miscarriage and baby loss. So it's not something that anyone should ever feel ashamed about, or be made to feel ashamed about, or to feel so much fear that they cannot speak and use their voices, and they feel they cannot advocate for themselves. And I think it's so important, so let's really look at it. And the next I want to mention is the lack of knowledge. The lack of knowledge when it comes to miscarriage, when it comes to baby loss, is also something that really perpetuates the taboo of this trauma. And it is a trauma we were going through. When you get pregnant, when you're down the preparing for pregnancy in a road or lane, no one stops and think, oh, maybe it's going to be gone. I'm going to lose my child, because we're not taught that. Imagine we learn how to drive, do a theory test over here in the UK. I don't know about other countries, but we do our theory test. We do our practical. We learn how to drive. We're taught things. We go to school. We go to, further education to become professionals. But nobody talks about miscarriage and baby loss and the possibility of that happening when you become pregnant. And as the stats says, I'll remind you of that, 1 in 4 women will experience miscarriage and baby loss. And therefore, it's so important that for something that is that common, why do we attach a stigma to it? Why is it still a taboo subject? Why is it still something that those who experience it are at times made to feel shame or unworthy, or are not given the proper care that they need and deserve to have? So that was our episode 2 of this series in our audio events so far. Episode 3, I've mentioned and touched on it, really looked at the mental, the physical, and the emotional impact. When I spoke about breaking the silence, I mentioned this trauma affecting couples. It's really important that wherever you are, whoever you are, when you have been bestowed the privilege of knowing about someone losing the pregnancy or losing a baby, that you first think about what they must be going through and be mindful the questions that you ask them. So for example, or the comments that you make, I think it's more the comments than the question. Comments like, oh, you try again. The throwaway, what I term the throwaway comments. That's an assumption. For some people, it takes so many years to become pregnant. I can speak from my own personal experience. It took me 7 years to become pregnant the first time. 7 whole years, right? Do you know what 7 years in life is? 7 whole years to get pregnant. People go through to education in 7 years and become professional in that time. And so it's really important that we understand that when someone says to you, this has happened to me, let's think about what they must be going through. Follow with that in identifying or asking them, how can I journey with you on this journey? In what capacity can you support them? How can you support them? Because their mental, their physical, their emotional state of mind would not be at its best or finest in those moments. And I've heard this say, oh, a few months time you'll remember, or you'll get on with your life, you'll be better, or you're going to heal and you're going to recover. Let me just say this very clearly. This is not something that we recover from or we just heal from. It's something that we can move forward from, because at different stages of your life, and especially for those who go on to have children, other children, you are always reminded of the babies that you lost or the pregnancies that you lost. You always think what they would have been like, and you calculate, and some people do find a way of memorizing, which I'll come to in this show so far. So just remember that there are triggers at different stages of life. And so the key thing here is, number one, you must ask them how they would like you to support them, whether it's a colleague, a sister, a brother, okay? Whoever it is, whatever relationship they have with you. It could be a stranger who is telling you, because sometimes people tend to tell strangers things because they're not so close, okay? So it's really important that you really support them in how they journey through and how they want or would like to be supported. That can be practical things like helping them to go shopping, or cooking them some food, or doing whatever it is that truly helps them. We think about the physical aspect. For some, when they've had to have a baby removed from them and no longer, or deceased, I should say, it's really important that their bodies are going through physical changes, and patience is really needed here to support that individual. I just believe that how we surround ourselves with the right people, sometimes it's not about the right person, it's about knowing how to be present with that person in that moment. And sometimes it could just be you being a listening ear. It could just be sitting down in silence, but being present in that moment, and let them lead you. So the impact of it is that we have those who will experience anxiety, will experience the fear of miscarriage happening again or baby loss happening again, being very tearful, panic attacks, being mindful, not being able to join for example, to attend social events such as baby shower, such as, it could be something as simple as a birthday party. That could be a trigger for that individual. Welcome, Michelle. Nice to see you. Professor Roxana, thank you for being here. Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. So it could be something as simple.
Hold on. So why is you taking a break? Whose camera's frozen? Your camera's frozen, or my camera's frozen?
Oh, okay.
I think your camera's frozen.
Oh,
So,
no.
Dr. Vivian, thank you so much for your kind words. No, I agree. I think these lives, they're a step up on our audio experience. You're gonna have to reset your device, Christiana. We can hear you, but we can't see you moving.
Am I still frozen?
Yes.
Joy. See why I love LinkedIn.
Yeah, technology is what it is now. So there's benefits to these lives compared to audio. And I said I love the fact that you can see people. I love the fact that you can have the replays. That's probably one of my greatest joys. I also love these comment streams. So people will send me messages on my DM. I can't see it if you don't send in this comment stream, I can't see it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You're gonna have to restart your device somehow. I don't know how you're gonna do that. Log out and log back.
Should I come back? Should I go out and come back in?
Yes, that's probably the best thing to do.
Okay,
we need a moving you. You can't have a non-moving you. Otherwise, they're looking at me instead.
Can you still hear? Okay, so in the chat, please, can you type in if you can still hear me?
We can. I can't talk to you otherwise, Christian.
Okay.
You have to restart your device. Stop, and I pull the plug. Start again. Yeah. So Kondaka, I see you. Hello, Kondaka. Welcome. Glad you're here. To Dr. Roxana, glad you're here as well. So our 10-time international best-selling author of her book, Family Wealth Secrets. I can show you the book if you want. Yeah, why not? So that's Dr. Roxana's book. So everyone who bought the book on Monday, your name is in the prize draw. And we're going to make the prize draw tomorrow, Friday. So I want to give you your winner's vouchers before Christmas so you can spend away, right? So thank you so much for joining us. Michelle, thank you for being here as well. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you all. Christiana says welcome to you all, of course. And Ernest, thank you for being here as well. Well, this is right about the time when I need our host back, Do I talk about miscarriage and baby loss? Of course I know that. It's an issue that affects all of us, right? And I guess there's always the male perspective, which we got onto later in that series, and more recently, last couple of weeks, maybe last month, we've talked about men and miscarriage. Miscarriage that affects men. Oh, Christian is back. Says me talking too much. Yeah. You're back. Look at you. You have headphones on. You've changed.
I have my headphones on just in case. Oh my goodness, it's so funny. This is why I say do not work with live technology, children, or animals live, because this happens.
But the audio ranges go wrong as well.
Yes, Michelle says my phone keeps freezing. Yes, Michelle, I can understand your plight.
My computer will go off sometime. It will freeze sometime too. And I'm going to have one freeze a day. I don't know what that's going to be. Your show or someone else's show. When I press all the buttons, suddenly it goes, I can't go.
Better not be the show or any shows at all. We're working on that. So sorry guys, I'm back. I was in the middle of being frozen. Although you could hear me, which is great, you could still hear me, whereas LinkedIn audio would have just thrown me out. You wouldn't hear me at all. So there's positivity and an upside to LinkedIn Live. So we were talking about the impact of miscarriage physically, mentally, and I was kind of explaining the fact that from a physical perspective, your body is, for some, having to pass through all of this and having to pass through, and also your body is trying to deal with the fact that it is losing a body, a baby in there. And so be mindful of these questions, ask for the help, that ask them how you can help them. Ask the right questions to ask is, how can I help you? What do you, that could be on a daily basis, like what do you need today? If it's at home, you're dealing with a sister, a brother, and I'm including men in this too, because what tends to happen is we often forget men. So for both parties, be that listening ear, be the sounding board. And when you are called upon to support, really free up the time. Okay, let's not do multitasking. That's another thing that comes across continuously, is the wanting to be there to help, but then people multitask, which takes away the attention, which makes that person feel even worse. So I encourage you that when you offer to support those experiencing this trauma, please be 110% present for them. And if you cannot do so, don't be afraid to vocalize that. And if you have something else that perhaps, I'll give you an example of what I mean by this. I once had a client who said to me that she had a friend who was also pregnant, but could not tell her that she was pregnant because she had lost her baby. And out of respect or fear, I should say, she decided not to disclose that she was pregnant. But when she discovered that a friend was pregnant, she truly wasn't happy about that. Not because her friend was pregnant, but because she wanted her friend to continue to trust her and to ensure that the friendship had not changed. So be mindful when people disclose to you what they're going through. We're not going to be afraid of good news, right? We'll be genuinely happy for you. Avoid taking the decision out of our hands, okay? Tell us and let us deal with it. Welcome, Caroline. It is so nice to see you here. So nice to see you here, beautiful. Thank you so much for being here. We need to catch up, okay? So DM me, let's connect and catch up, definitely. And so, Michelle, I can see you. Let me just go back to, I think we've missed one. I can go back up to what Christine said. So Christine said, can you explain when my sister lost both of her children, why she started claiming her daughter when I came to visit everyone? Okay, so she said, why she started claiming her daughter as my own when I came to visit her, everyone that my daughter was hers. That's what loss does. When you go through loss and you feel that deeply within you, it is your daughter became that child that she didn't have, that baby, that child that she was longing for. And that is part of the grieving process. That is part of wanting to hold on to something. And I hope you didn't take offense to that, Christine. It is not because she's trying to take your child away from you or trying to own your child. That is another way of her really working through things in her mind, of her coming to terms with what she has been through. My question to you is, in that situation when that happened, how was she supported? How vocal was she? And I'm not sure how long ago that was. If you want to come up on stage, yes, we're on LinkedIn Live. I'm about to say it. Yes, on LinkedIn Live, on stage. Feel free, please. And if you can send Christine a link to come and join us, I would love to hear from her. Okay, so
you're welcome on stage. You really are. So I'm going to share the link in the StreamYard link in the comment now.
Yes,
so
please.
Copy and paste that link into your browser, and then open a window, and you'll be in the studio. And bring your camera on or off. So as long as you enable your sound and your camera before you join on your computer, then when you come to the studio, you can turn your camera off and also keep your sound on.
Thank you so much.
If you want a link, I'm going to send you the link to your DM. I can do that too.
Yes,
So,
please.
Christine, I'm going to send you the DM now.
So I have someone that says, hello, Christian, LinkedIn user. I'm not sure who that is. So when you come in, if you've come in, and I've said LinkedIn user 250. So could you also let us know, LinkedIn user, who you are, please?
Yes, you just
I
put your
can't
name in. Put your name in,
put your
and
name in the
then
chat.
that's your comments, and we know who you are.
Yes,
You know,
please.
I'll say that the link to join the studio is also in the comments. Now, so if you go to our comments page for this event, then you see that the link is there, the StreamYard link.
Is
So
there?
do join us. Otherwise, Christiana would talk for the whole hour without
And you don't want that.
I'm glad you're here. I see you. Well, I see you, Victoria, as well. Welcome, welcome. To my brother Asume, welcome. Glad you're here. So thank you so much all for joining us. And I see Christiana, they're all here. Isn't that good?
Yay! It's awesome. Thank you, guys. I really truly appreciate you. I am so grateful from the bottom of my heart. You are an awesome community, and this is why I show up. Okay, I show up because you guys show up, and I am so blessed to be here, doing this. Thank you so much for showing up. Yes. So I was saying to Christine to feel free to come up on stage and speak to us. So what happens is, when a loss of this nature happens, there is that need. They want an acknowledgement. They want to recognize the fact that that child, would have been loved by them, and that is their way of showing that love, that attention, that care to that child. So please do not be alarmed by that. They would never harm your child, but they would just want to really acknowledge, they want to remind them, so they want to feel what it's like, what would have been like for them to be able to hold their child and to have their child around. So I know for those who are watching that happen, it might seem a bit strange. It might seem a little bit worrying, or you may have concerns. Here's what we do. We have a conversation with them. And yes, for the moment, you're allowed to hold your baby. At the end of the day, if they're the family, right? That's their niece. Allow them to take that time and slowly just keep reassuring them. And also ensure that as they do that, you can sit with them and remind them of your baby's name, of who your child is. Not to say, well, that's my child, can I have my child back? My suggestion is to sit down and make sure that you pronounce your child's name, to try and remind them of who the child is that they're carrying. Okay? It's really important. And so I really want you to, I hope that, in fact, I'm going to say no more. I want to hear from you as to what happened in that situation and how you dealt with it, and then we can discuss it. So feel free to come up on stage. Okay.
Can you see Christine on stage?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Christine,
no,
yes.
Christine. Oh, no. We suddenly lost her. So
Oh, no.
She'll come back. I'm sure she'll come back. Now she's worked out how to get on stage. So, see, when you see them, you got to stop talking.
Sorry.
Stop talking. You're giving the mic straight away.
Joe said, where's the link, Emmy?
In the comments page, Joni, in the comments page. I'm sharing it again now here.
Hi.
In our comments here. Copy and paste that link into your browser. That's what you have to
Victoria.
do.
Hi, Victoria. Great to see you. Welcome, welcome. Yay. Victoria's in the house. So very quickly, I can see LinkedIn user said, sorry not to be able to join you. Loving the vibe. I'm not sure who that is. Can you please put your name in the chat so I can see who that is? Ernest, welcome. Thank you for joining us. It's good to see you here.
Christine's
Yeah.
back.
Hi,
You can turn your camera off if
Christine.
you want, Christine. If you want to turn your camera off, feel free. But I'm glad you're here.
No, don't do that.
You can. It's your choice. It looks like an audio room, right?
Yes, yes. Feel free to do that. You can. It's your choice. I was just messing around. Ignore me. Ignore me. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate you taking the time to grace us with your presence on my first live, not Annie's first live, but my first live of LinkedIn live, not audio anymore, but I'm over that now. Okay, so talk to me. Can you hear me, Christine? Can you still hear us?
Christine, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Please share with us. Share with us.
Share with us. I'll give you a moment to do that because I know it might be quite emotional for you. It's okay. Take your time.
Christine, you're looking great. Can you speak? Can you share with us?
Well, good morning, everyone. For my sister, when she had lost, both of her children, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can hear you clearly.
We can hear you clearly. Christiana, you talk way too quietly. I thought I talk quietly, but you talk quietly. Go on, Christine.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
we can hear you. Yes.
Okay. When my sister had lost both of her children, and even though she was claiming my daughter, it did not offend me. Actually, I embraced that because I thought, she was just, my daughter was a part of her. So that was very important to me. She would not seek help when she Hello?
Hello. Yes, you're breaking up a little, but we can still hear you.
Okay.
So you said that when she lost 2 of her babies, she was trying to.
Okay. She did not get the help.
Did she get any help after she lost the babies? No.
She didn't get help.
Mm-hmm. So tell me, when you lost the babies, sorry, when she lost her babies, what support did she receive in that time from family, friends, or anyone?
I think Christine's got a better signal, but Christine, you're fine. You're fine. The camera's still on. So I'm sure we can you hear us? Guys, we'll try again, Christiana. So Christine.
So I think
yes, she didn't get the help that she needed.
okay, so she didn't get the help that she needed.
No, ma'am.
Okay, so the question I asked was around her, what support did she get from close family, friends, or anyone around her? Okay, I think I've lost Christine again. Hi, Joni, you're on mute.
I'm mute. Sorry. So I'm like this little guy.
Hi! Oh my goodness! Look at that! Look at that little prince
right now. He is he's like causing a bunch of ruckus under my desk, like trying to chew on wires and stuff. So just a little tip for this platform: if you have a LinkedIn open too, like the audio can get messed up. And also for all American users, you have to be on Chrome versus Safari. So that's just technical tips. So if you want to be up on stage, close out the LinkedIn because I don't know, they fight against each other in sound.
Yeah,
So
essentially the
interferes.
LinkedIn tab is a few seconds, about 10 seconds behind us. So you hear everything twice. It's like an echo, right?
It's like gerbily and whatever. So
I agree with you.
I could hear the echo then, but I can't hear it now.
okay.
Yes.
How
are you?
I'm good. I am good.
It's so nice to see the face and the voice put in one.
Yes,
Awesome.
I know. I'm like, oh, I'm on camera. I have like no makeup on or whatever.
No one cares.
Nobody cares.
Yeah, we're good.
As long as you're here, that's what
like in my sweats and everything. Good. All right. So I think this topic well, if you lose a pregnancy, any way you lose it is like, oh, it's horrible. It's horrible. I lost 2 pregnancies kind of later in term. I still have 3 children. So,
Sorry to hear that.
Life still works. So don't lose all hope. But it really is good to be around supportive people like during that time of grief. And, it may not like serve you well to be around someone who is yet to have a child, because that can be incredibly painful for them and for you, because to each their own. Like everyone has the right to grieve about whatever they go through, and that if you you lost a baby because you couldn't hold it, and then that's horrible. And then people are like, well, you already have a baby. No, I had a baby because now I know what that could have done for my life, but in the same respect, like if someone had to have an abortion or because they financially couldn't figure it out, like that's a whole different set of grief. And it's so real. And so you really have to consider your own like personal space during that time. And I promise it does get better. You don't forget it. It's like it's still there, but you certainly are allowed to take that personal time to heal. And I'm sorry for anyone else out there who has gone through it.
Thank you so much for saying that, Joe. And I think that it's really important. I agree with what you're saying. You need to take the time out for yourself and to be able to, process what is going on. So I think a lot of the times what happens when someone, depending on where you are. So what I mean by that is you might be somebody who may even be a CEO of your company. You might be someone who is working from home. You might be somebody who, there's so many different variations, right?
Yeah.
And so what happens is if you're somebody who is, an employment, for example, you're having to rush to returning to work. I remember a client saying to me, she returned to work 2 days after experiencing miscarriage. And
I went home. I drove myself home, and it was Halloween. I made chili and hosted a Halloween party. I didn't know what else to do because I was kind of like a deer in headlights. Like, okay, I'm gonna do this, and for me, definitely. Cooking and having like a home clean is therapeutic. But was I ready to be around people and walk around the neighborhood and like, have, spiked cocktails? No, I was not. But I also I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to feel about it like in that right second. So I definitely think however you manage that is so individual, and that's okay.
I think that's something that sometimes people doubt, because again, that's the other misconception is when this happens, there has to be a way that you've got to be. People think that there is a script, or you've got to be this way or that way. Why are you like this? Why are you happy today? Why are you not sad all the time? Why are you taking? There's so many variations and things that I hear that for me, each journey is so different.
It's very
No two miscarriages are the same, and that's the reason why each person, you got to take that on its own, on your own merits, rather, because it's really important. If you are trying to do what someone else is doing, you drive yourself insane, because you're not that person. You are who you are, and the best thing you can do for yourself is take the time to truly understand how you are feeling. And it's okay to feel whatever it is that you're feeling. It's okay to cry. It's okay to sit and ask yourself questions. It's okay to just feel emotionally torn apart if that's what you feel.
Yeah.
I know for me, my husband had to peel me off the floor.
Yeah.
Literally had to peel me off the floor because I could not get off the floor.
I like fell off the table. Like when they were like found out there was no heartbeat left, I couldn't. And then like their doctors are like trying to like issue other patients down the hall so they wouldn't hear me wailing. And I was like, this can't be happening to me. And then it happened again. So I had already had 2 children. So they're like, okay, well, you have 2 healthy children. I'm like, well, yeah, I know how wonderful children can be. So, and then I was able to have another child. So do not give up on your body, because that's really what my experience was. I was like, fuck this body. Why am I not operating?
Yes.
Sorry,
I'm
not British, and
I do believe that when you think it's true, when you think about it, you have to. We do these talks. I call it the negative self-talk that we do so well. We become well versed in speaking negatively to yourself until your conscious mind clicks in, or somebody you speak to, or some help comes along and says, actually, no, that's not the way to speak about your body. Stop doing that right now.
Yeah.
And at first, you are shocked to hear those words, right? Because you've become so used to speaking that way. And you have got to stop in your tracks for a moment and think, oh, I can do this differently.
Yeah.
Right? It's this, the reason I keep talking about this is because it is such a complex area, a complex thing to happen that people don't understand. I'm going to go to Caroline. Caroline is telling us about, she listens to her daughter cry over the phone. She was filled with guilt. I just want to say, I'm so sorry. I'm really sorry for your loss, for your daughter's loss. But the one thing I'm going to say to you is, please, please, please do not carry the guilt. Welcome, Dr. CJ. Do not carry the guilt, because there is nothing that you could have done. It was nothing that you did. Okay. And as parents, I can understand that you carry the guilt because you're not there physically to be right next to your child, because that's your baby. Ultimately, your baby is going through this suffering, and all you want to do is just take away that pain from your baby. And what comes with that is the guilt that we feel as, we're not able to be there for our child. What can I have done? What can I do right now? You did the right thing. You listened. You just listened to her. You spent the time, Caroline, and I'm so, so proud of you for taking the time. even to identify, even to say to yourself, how can I help? And I know the pain. I remember listening to you on the audio when you spoke about this, and I could really feel your pain. I could feel exactly that tone. I felt exactly the pain you were going through. And I just want to say to you, please don't feel guilty. It is not something that you did wrong. It is, and this is the other myths and misconceptions that we hear. It was something that you did before in your past life and so on and so forth. I've heard all these things throughout this journey. And I really have, and this is the reason why I speak about it, I really have to say, remove this negative thoughts out of your mind where you can. Remind yourself of the positive things. You're able to hear your daughter. She's able to call you. She can trust you enough to say, Mom, I need your help, to lean on you, to ask for your support.
Yeah.
You're there. Some people going through this, Carolyn, don't have parents to go to. They don't have anyone to go to. They go through this by themselves. There's no call on the end of the other phone. So you are the best person to listen to her because you brought her into this world. And I'm not here to tell you that the pain will be taken away from you. You have to take the time to process, to get to understand, and to continue to communicate with each other. And definitely, I think I've been asking for quite some time, but please send me that DM. Let us have a conversation, Caroline.
It's
I really,
hurtful.
really want you to, right? I want you to get on my DM. Let's book a call. Let's have that conversation. So important. And I'm looking forward to that happening. And you're saying that she made the decision. That was one that you never experienced. And nobody wakes up, and especially no parent will wake up and think, oh, my grandchild is coming into the world. It's just going to go like that. That's the reality. There is no right or wrong when it comes to this. It's about the individual person and the support they have around them. And you are clearly doing a fantastic job. And I want to commend you for being there for your daughter. I'm going to go on to Christine. Is saying they wish your sister would have gotten the help because it still affects her till this day. I don't know if your sister is on LinkedIn. I haven't got to be on LinkedIn. Christine, send me a message, send me a DM. Let's book a call and have a conversation. I definitely want to hear from you. Okay. Yes, let's book a call and have a conversation about that. So, Dr. CJ is saying we cannot go through life alone, even if your journey, yes, no, yes, we do. You're right. Even if it's, yes. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much, CJ. Love you to the moon and back. I really and you're right in what you're saying. We may go through certain things, but we're not alone, and we must not allow ourselves to remain alone. And I know there are times, no, I'll rephrase that. And I know it's going to feel like you're in a dark space, a dark place. I want to reassure you and encourage you to reach out. It might not be myself, it might be somebody else who becomes that listening voice, that sounding board. It might be somebody that can physically help you with things that you need. Do not go through this alone. I beg of you, because the alternative is unfathomable. Where miscarriage and baby loss takes some people is really can be quite terrible, harmful, and in some cases fatal. So I want you to be able to reach out and ask for help. There is, like I mentioned earlier, there is no shame in asking for help. There is no shame in what's happening to our body. There's no shame in baby loss. Because I think that I mentioned earlier from the beginning, when we looked at breaking the silence and episode 2, which was the taboo, So the word taboo itself just conjures up shame and guilt and fear and all the negative things that shouldn't be happening with this trauma. And so it's important that we remind ourselves that there is nothing to be ashamed of. When it comes to miscarriage and baby loss, firstly, the well-known cause of this is abnormal chromosomes, right? And that is not to say that there's something wrong with you. Again, I've heard this. There's something wrong with me. It's my DNA, it's all of these things. That is not to say that. What tends to happen
Everyone has them. It's not you. It's not your fault. Everyone has them. It's
exactly.
not because you did like too much partying in high school. No. It was
exactly.
okay.
Exactly. So I really want you to start to think about how you're going to get that support. Who is in your circle that you can trust and confide in? I'm always here. Reach out. Very quickly. Thank you, Mama Janice. Welcome. It's good. It's so good to see you here. Thank you for being here with us. In fact, I'm going to take this opportunity to say to everyone currently that is watching and is logging on with us, I wanted to say thank you so much again for this community, for continuously supporting, for showing up. And because you show up, I show up. And I love showing up because these conversations are so important. So apt for us to have, especially because there's so much fear and so much judgment and so much, stigma still attached to this subject. We've got to break it. We have to break it. We have to normalize conversations like this, because that's the only way we can, one, break the silence, two, pop a pin in the taboo, pop a pin in the stigma, and give people the confidence to just be able to process what's happening to them without other worries and concerns. We looked at the next thing I'm going to talk about is then we moved on from episode 3, looking at the impact of miscarriage, baby loss. We looked at understanding different types of, losses, from your ectopic pregnancy to your molar, to looking at terminology, to looking at the terms that healthcare practitioners use when they're speaking to us, when we're faced in front of them. Things like, Joan, can you need your second place? Thank you. So, when we're faced with our healthcare practitioners, it's what are we saying? What are they saying to us? Words like geriatric mother is unhelpful, because it's already difficult to think about your body that is supposed to do this natural thing, like become pregnant and give birth, and in fact go to full term and give birth. By the way, I honestly believe that in itself is a miracle. Okay, so when we're thinking about that, to be sat in front of someone who is saying, well, you can't do this because, or you're not able to do this because you're now a geriatric mother, you're so old, your eggs are all dried up. That doesn't help anyone. I can tell you that for free. It does not help any one of us. It leaves us feeling doomed into a negative headspace, right? It's really important that we start to think about the terms and the words that we use. For starters, words have effect. It has an impact. And so those that have sat in front of you are still humans. From a professional point of view, you may be used to using those words all the time in your professional, health spaces. But the reality is not everybody hears those words every single day. And therefore, how you communicate the facts of what is going on is really important. For example, you could say to someone, the fact that you're at this age means that your eggs might not be sufficient, or your eggs might not have a high quality eggs. Those are ways in which you can describe things. Or you may even say to them, there's a risk of, and there's another thing as well. When we're going through these fertility stages, rarely do we have practitioners say to us, there's a risk of, baby loss. and then either help us to understand or pinpoint, signpost, direct us to someone who can better explain and break it down for us using medical terms, or as I like to say, some medical jargon doesn't help your patients or your clients. It leaves them confused. It leaves us confused. It leaves us even more worried and concerned than when we came to see you. So that's the one thing that episode really did for us, is having a look at those, the differences, things like DNC, which is which is a procedure that you have got to go through to have your unborn and deceased baby removed from you, which in itself is not pleasant. So moving on to episode 5. At this point, I'm going to say if anybody would like to come up on stage and share, please feel free to do so. We only have a few more minutes left on this live show this time. And once again, I want to thank you so much for supporting my first LinkedIn Live. Like I said early on this conversation, when I heard LinkedIn audio was disappearing, for about a few seconds, panic set in. And I thought, do you know something? Don't panic. In fact, Annie said to me, are you panicking? Don't. And I was like, no, I'm not panicking. I'm good. So I'm so glad. And thank you so much for joining me on this journey and for more to come. So we've looked at that. Let's have a look at what that looks like. So we moved on from there. So we had episode 4, 5, and 6 was really dealing with the impact, the terminologies of, healthcare practitioners and the words they use, whether it's incompetent cervix or a hostile womb or geriatric mother that they use, and all of these words that keep us feeling, like I said, doomed and unsure what to do and afraid and scared and all these things. They could just simplify it, So we then moved on to focus on employers. Okay, so a focus on how employers support their employee who experience this trauma. Now, this episode, which was episode 8, was really quite a hectic up and heated episode for me, because we had employees in the room. We had all manner of people from different backgrounds in the room, but employers were in this room too. And the one thing and the one question that we get to ask is, well, how do I support the person? How do I really take the policy we have in place and bring it into practicality? How does that translate from theory to practice and supporting the individual going through this? And sometimes it might be couples who work in the same work environment, right? And being able to have the time off and go through this together in the same work environment. That in itself, employers can sometimes from what they've said to me, is it can be difficult because of productivity at times. Having people physically in a workspace means that they have a task to do, have a job to do. The one thing that came up with this topic and this discussion is the types of time off work, the length of time off work. Now, my advice, and if any employer is looking at this, watching this, or wanting to be part of this, feel free to come up on stage and please, let's have a conversation. But again, you have to look at the initial trauma, the initial situation that the person's undergoing, the treatment involved. What treatment is required for that individual? How many days? Time off for physical, for mental, and for emotional, processing is really important. For some employers, they advise just a bereavement, same time as a bereavement. I know a client who, when going through this, had to take additional time off from their annual leave to have time off, because the policy stated that they couldn't have additional time off with regards to bereavement. For some, it's 5 days bereavement. And if you're somebody who has to attend the hospital to have a removal done, then you need more than 5 days. We are looking at least 4 weeks recovery. Does that make sense? So, and each individual is different. For some people, they may need longer, they may need less time. It's really important as employers to have that conversation. But the important question here is, are you fostering an environment where your workforce feels comfortable enough to come and disclose what they're going through? Or is that individual going to be like one of my, another one of my clients who returned to work 2 days later and did not feel they could take the time off? And in cases where the employer initially was not aware that they were pregnant, and this does happen, that they were pregnant, how then would you deal with that when a trauma such as miscarriage happens? Are you willing to listen to the individual? Or are you focusing on the productivity and the stats and the targets they've got to meet, and that how that will affect your bottom line? Okay, let's really think about that for a moment. What's the priority here? And I understand as businesses, you have business contracts and things to fulfill, you have business practices to uphold. Without your workforce, there is no business. So it makes more sense, right? It makes more sense to be able to say, let's have a sit down, let's have a conversation. It also makes more sense to begin to really foster an environment where your workforce can have conversations. They can feel comfortable to come to you and say, this is happening. Whether that's through having a separate, event in a workspace, a separate room. Do you have any room where someone can go and just process if they're at work? If they choose to come to work, which some of my clients have told me they will go to work, because sometimes being in work means that they're not at home, sat down, thinking about this and feeling quite sad and alone and isolated. Sometimes returning to work helps them to move forward. So, which employer are you? Are you there to support wholeheartedly, or are you there partially? Do you foster an environment where your colleagues or your workforce can say, hey, I'm going through this, and they are supported 110%? Okay, so moving on to the next one, our episodes 10. Again, that links in with being compassionate. So Michelle says, comfortable workspace means better quality of work. Absolutely, I agree with you, Michelle. Because it means that your workforce can show up and be present for themselves and for that work environment. It's really, really important. I cannot emphasize or stress enough how important it is that you find support. And can I just say this too? Support is support for everyone, but take into consideration that each person might need a different support. What support looks like for me will be different for what support looks like for Joni, or for Annie, or for Michelle, or for Christine, or for anyone. So really have a look at it. And I know policies are put in place to support them, but what would be the point of having a policy if your policy is ineffective for those that it was created for? Right? So that for me makes sense. We then moved on to episode 10, 11, and 12. We looked at Black maternal health. Now, I know this was a hot topic back in October. And the most frequent questions that came up for this one are the cultural misconceptions. Why is this? The disparity. Why is the disparity? Why are Black women 4 times more likely to die in childbirth? And how to implement, strategies and solutions to support them. Okay, so first question, why are they more likely to die in childbirth? There is a great deal of education that needs to be done in this area. There truly is. Because when we look at the stats, and we did this during the audio event. We look at it, we hear the storytelling of people come and tell us stories about how we showed up and we were kind of trivialized, or our concerns were trivialized, or we're marginalized and we're not being heard, or there is the assumption that we have a high pain threshold and therefore treatment is delayed or treatment isn't given at all. All of these things makes for an unsafe environment when it comes to Black maternal health. It's addressing the cultural aspect of it, the beliefs that we've been told. We're more likely to take more pain, and we're more likely to be coming from a very poor or socioeconomic, disadvantaged socioeconomic background, which is not true. And one of the examples that I use during our conversation is people like Beyonce and people like Serena Williams, who really spoke about their story, who came out and told their story. And to say, just because it's not always about the financial aspects that causes this, that even when you do have the financial means, this does still happen. So it's important that in these spaces, in a fertility spaces, in a pregnancy space, in a healthcare practitioner spaces, the one thing I implore you to do is start to listen. Listen and ask questions. Do not make assumptions. It's really important, because when you ask the right questions, you could be saving a life, literally saving a life.
I think self-advocacy was a thing we talked about, right?
Yes, we did. I'm going to come to that too. So, you could be saving a life, and it's so important. When we spin that on its head, the other side of the coin is advocating. And I remember saying this during the audio event is, when we are born, the first thing that lets people know in the room that we've arrived is our voice. Our voice is the thing that lets people know that we are alive, we are well, we're now in the world, we're here to stay, right? And so it's really important that when we get older, as we grow older, we seem to lose our voices. We seem to allow fear and societal, words and societal pressures and everything else in between to cause us to lose our voice. It's really important that you advocate for yourself. Now, you might say to me, how can I do that? The first thing in this situation is find your medical records. I know when we've had this conversation, I remember, I think it was Sandra that came on board to speak about America. You have got to check on the portal. People have to pay for the portal to check your medical records on the portal. There's a fee attached to it. Not everywhere everyone has to pay, but just double check that. Your medical records, number one, get them. Number two, take the time to read that medical records. Make notes, understand. And if you don't understand, write the questions down. Be prepared. Take those notes into your appointment with you and ask the question. And I know sometimes we have health practitioners who are perhaps rushed for time, right? They might not have the time. So here in the UK, if you go to a GP, it's 10 minutes. 10 minutes top is the amount of time you have got to have ask questions. Okay. In a fertility space, in a maternity space, in a child-rearing space, in all of these spaces, there is more time. Take that time, take the opportunity, and ask the question. There lies and there begins your self-advocacy. And when you do that, the healthcare practitioner who's in front of you will get to know and understand that you're somebody who wants answers. You're somebody who has taken the time to care about themselves and to want those answers given to them, to be able then to give you some answers. And if in any case you are not satisfied with the answers, I encourage you to seek a second opinion. There is nothing wrong with that. Okay? Seek second opinion and be reassured, or at least you have got an informed decision to make. Really important. So that's the thing with self-advocacy. It means that you're empowered to go out there and to fight for the treatment and the right treatment that you need for you to move on with your journey or move forward with your journey. That was, in a nutshell, what we went through, we spoke about. And then we moved on to episode 14 and 15, which are the last two episodes, this being the 16th one on a live. We spoke about men, miscarriage, and baby loss, the physical, the emotional, and the mental impact at home and in the workplace, and men feeling like strangers in their own home as well as in the workplace. And I can say this, there was a share and a story that was disclosed in the audio. And what came out of that was society have left us thinking that men have no emotions, men do not feel pain, men do not care. And the truth is that is inaccurate. Let's think about this for a moment. Men are humans, first of all. If you prick them, yes, they will bleed. Okay? So they have emotions. You teach our children young men from young not to cry, not to show emotions. That is a complete wrong way to go about things. Because when they become grown men, they risk suffering in isolation. The result of that is absence. The result of that is turning to different vices as coping mechanisms. Example of that is from drinking to drugs to spending more time in a work environment and not wanting to come home, to picking up different habits, different hobbies. And the result of that is a breakdown in relationships. People going their separate ways. When we can allow men to do things like cry, speak to the boys, or find that one person that they can really speak to gain understanding. And when we are listening, we must listen to understand and not listen just to reciprocate or just to verbal nod the person, because you become ineffective in their journey in that process. And like I always say, men and women think differently. We approach things differently. Women can find a space to speak. I mean, heck, we can speak in the middle. We can speak in the middle of the shopping aisles. We can have a mother's meeting, gather around and have a conversation. Outside the school gates, when we drop our children at school, there's a meeting going on. Women do that. Men not always so. They have got to have a space that they feel comfortable with. They've got to be allowed to really express themselves in their own way, not in the way that society and you as the partners expect them to. Because we need to get an understanding of them, first of all. And that leads to being a stranger, feeling like a stranger in your own home and at work. Can you imagine? You cannot express yourself at home and you cannot express yourself in a work environment. What does that do to your mental, your physical, and your emotional well-being? And so it's really important that we, number one, provide the space. Number two, allow expressions, no matter how different you think it is. There's no expression and no way of dealing with or coping with, miscarriage and baby loss from a man's perspective that is silly. Just like when you say no question is too silly or to ask. And when they ask questions, take the time, be patient, hear them out uninterrupted. So that they can speak their mind and speak freely without fear of judgment. And yes, men do also feel being judged by others. Not just women that have that feeling, men do too. And so it's important that we do that we really, really take the time to hear them, to be able to allow them to be men and to be themselves and to express in their own way. Ask them the question, how can we journey on this together? Because ultimately, pregnancy, fertility is a two-person sport. So too is loss. Loss is a two-person sport. Not that it is a sport, but it is something that two people agree on. And when it comes to an end or ceases to be, it must be both parties that come together and deal with it together. So I want to invite people to just, if you're able to, please come and share with us. Please comment. If you're still here with me, let me see some comments. Yes would be great, or just a why. Are you still here with us? So type in yes, type in why. Is Victoria still here? Michelle, Frank, Sam, who is still here with us? Let us know.
I told you that you could talk for the whole time, but you didn't have to.
So
Those bees distracted me for a bit. Have you got enough? Is there enough of them there, or do you need more?
I need more. It's not enough.
Surprise. So, look, that question for you: what's coming next? Like,
What's coming next?
Let's get this right, Christiana. Right?
Yes.
Christine's still here. I'm glad you're still here, Christine.
Thank you, Christine.
Here.
So
of course, connecting with our friends who could benefit from a conversation with you. That's part of the thing. I think you give us, you tell us what's coming next.
Yes. Well, you should know what part of what's coming next because you keep telling me about it. You keep dragging me on about this book. So that's coming up next year. But what I really want to say today is what's coming up next is the services that I provide. I am currently in the process of revamping that. So I'm going to be launching some new stuff in the new year by way of coaching. So my coaching programs are going to be seen in the new year for employers or organizations, I should say, actually, for organizations in terms of how you practically support your workforce. Okay, so taking your policies and your theories and putting them into practical implementation. So I can help you with that. I can also help you with your policies too. So there's going to be a program for that to happen. And when it comes to the couples and their journey moving forward, there's going to be an 8-week program that will support them in moving forward. For the most part, there's going to be workshops that's going to be done so people can come in, get these workshops done, and walk away with the confidence in moving forward on their journey. So that's what's coming up next year for me. I am looking forward to it. And also I have a few speaking engagements that I'm going to be doing next year, all booked. All booked. So if you're looking for someone like me who can come in and speak to your workforce about miscarriage and baby loss and how you as a workforce as well as an employer can live harmoniously in your work environment and can put the right things in place to be able to support those that experience this trauma, DM me. I am happy and willing to have that conversation with you. Let's talk about it. So I'm really looking forward to some of the engagements I have for next year. All will be spilt, when the time is here. So yeah, that's what's happening next year. It's quite a lot of things happening, but for now, those are the things that I am going to be speaking of. So yes, my programs are coming up next year, definitely, to be able to move forward Yes. When I first began this, I used to do things like tailored programs for each individual. But now I'm reducing the 12-week program, and that's going to be a 6 to 8 weeks program, which is a shorter time, but still delivers the same good quality. So yes, and a great question. Thank you for asking that question.
I'm excited for you. I'm excited especially about the speaking gigs. And I think that's brilliant. And
Thank you.
I guess impacting people one to many.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying, rather than one to one.
One to one, yes.
One to one is still there, of course. That's supposed to always be there. But one to many has more impact. I mean,
Yes.
Shorter time frame. And we don't have to clone you. Send you somewhere and then leave you to do your thing there. Right? 120.
You throw me out.
Yeah.
I feel like a teenager leaving home.
You got work to do. You got work to do.
I'm leaving home. But yes, for the audience and those who are still with us, I would like you actually to type in the chat. Let us know if there's anything you'd like me to cover in the new year, any topics, any programs, any support, anything that when you were going through yours or your journey that wasn't available or you wished you had had. Please type in the chat anything that you'd want to see or want me to talk about, or any programs that you might think possible. So let me know. If you're not able to put it in the chat, please send me a DM. And I am asking you guys as my community and our community to support me with this and send me DMs or chat, send in the chat and let me know some of the things that you feel or you think could be addressed in this topic. I welcome it because it allows me, it helps me to deliver quality work to you guys. So thank you for participating in it, and I look forward to receiving all of it, all your ideas and your perspective and views and suggestions. Yes, feel free to do so. So Annie, we're coming to a close now. Okay, so I want to take this opportunity to say thank you so much for this. Thank you, Annie. Okay, that one was for you. That thank you was for you. And for the community, you guys have just made the 2-year wait that I had to start this so worthwhile. It was just worth waiting for. I want to thank you for your continuous support, for making this space a safe space, for the respect that you show for this community, for the time that you dedicate to this community, for just the shares, the experience, the support, the stories that I have heard always leave me feeling humbled. I cannot emphasize enough what that really means to me, what that truly means to me. It tells me that the work I do is needed. You know, at the very beginning, I questioned whether this was something that I should be doing. I had my doubts, but I had to follow my guts. Whether it was one person that showed up or 2 people that showed up, I still had to show up because I know how I felt when I was experiencing when I was on my own journey. You know, having to be someone who was on the floor and had to be peeled off the floor, to having to sit down to process what was going on, to using journaling, to using all of these different, you know, techniques and different measures to come to the point where I can speak about this. I could not speak about this before without crying. You know, so that's been my journey. I couldn't speak without getting emotional about it, without wanting to pull my own hair out, without the self-negative talk. There were so many things I couldn't do before. And I had to follow a consistent process to say, you can do this. I had to ask the questions. I had to seek my medical reports. I had to read them. I had to question. I had to write the questions down. I had to meet with my, you know, professional healthcare practitioners and challenge and ask questions and say no and be my own advocate on this journey. there is so many facets to this complexity of a trauma. And so that's the reason why I'm asking you guys, if there's anything you can think of as my community, please send me all of it. No question, no suggestion is too silly, too small. I'll be so grateful if you can do that. I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. May God bless you all. And I want to say, if I don't get to see you guys or speak with you until the new year, we return in the new year. I think, when do we return, any? Are we back first week in Jan or second week in Jan? You're on mute.
No idea. Now, first week in Jan, I think, because
It's the second of January.
No. So first,
Second
okay.
week in Jan. I'll be
Yeah.
9th.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are back on the 9th. So the Thursday, the 9th of January, will be our return back to live, to live. Now we're going to be permanently live now, no more audio event. Boo hoo hoo. So I got over it.
Replays now. You can go watch replays if you missed the show.
Yes, that's important. If we miss the show, replays are really important for you guys. For those who miss it, please go on the replay and still put the questions and DM me if you feel much better to do so. Yes, I want to wish every single one of you a happy, happy, happy Christmas and a new year in advance. I'm quite tempted to just do an impromptu, Christmas, not about miscarriage or baby loss, just to show up and say Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I'm going to do that usually with video, but I might do a live. I'll see what happens. So I want to say thank you so much once again. Have a wonderful, blissful, relaxing, enjoying Christmas and New Year. May your family be blessed. May your family be well. I pray that all goes well and you have a fantastic, wonderful time. May you remain healthy. That's the important thing. May you remain healthy and return in the new year sprightly, bright, and ready to rock on. I cannot wait to see what the new year brings for you guys and for us as well, for this community that I so much cherish and love. Thank you once again. I am going to
we
pass it on to Eni.
We say thank you to you. I think when we do these sort of topics, people will say, and it's not for LinkedIn, it's a professional website,
Right?
And so people are getting the idea now. We're all human.
Mm-hmm.
So everything that involves humans is for LinkedIn.
Yes.
That's my mission. So thank you.
You said it well.
Yeah, because I truly believe in it. And when I joined LinkedIn, my thing was, I need to break this thing. I need to break this platform because it can't just be for just recruitment. It can't just be for, I joined the days when you couldn't post pictures about your children, your pets, your food. I'm like, it's a social media platform. Post what you like.
You're right.
And then the audio came in. If it's part of your story, we know there's other people who are going through the same thing.
Yes.
When the audio event came, my mission was to bring everything, not just business topics.
Yes.
So I do say thank you to you for leading this conversation, and for being the one that actually fronts it. You think you're worried about your emotional reactions? I told you, when people come up to talk, I will take myself off stage.
Mm-hmm.
I want to react emotionally, literally, and I know the challenges of, I mean, people, even today, people shared amazing, difficult conversation.
I will get back to Christine as well, so I'll make sure to do that. I'm Caroline.
Yeah, you are the one who fronts the conversation, so we do thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes.
I can't wait to the new year to see what you promised. The book, and the videos of your presentations of your speeches. So.
Oh my goodness, Eni.
What's that?
No pressure. Do you know what? Yeah. You hit the point, right? You actually hit the point, because do you remember I said this to you when I was told that LinkedIn was not the place for me to do this in, and I paused and said, "We are humans first of all. So I'm so glad that you reminded me of that, because sometimes when we go through this journey and we do so many things, we forget what's been said to us previously, because I genuinely just threw that out from my head. I didn't want to entertain that. So you reminded me. It's a good thing for us to just remember that sometimes we're going to have the naysayers. You know, we're going to have those who might grumble because they don't understand, because they're uncertain, because of perhaps their own personal journey. Who knows? I don't really care. That being said, I'm so glad I didn't listen. I was determined to really get this out there and for us to talk about it, because when I looked around me offline in my own spaces and saw those who were really struggling with this and had really struggled with this, I had to say, well, there's got to be more people going through this nightmare, you know. So thank you for coming on this journey with me and making this such a wonderful place to come and talk about this topic.
It's what Annie does. It's great. So as maybe one thing that we didn't say about the new year is bringing our medical friends to come and have the conversation with us. So that's
Any. We'll have to think about that. There's some comment work going behind the scenes. We'll see. Some collaborations coming up too as well. So yes.
I'm excited for you. Don't call me on Boxing Day, Christiana. Don't call me.
I will call you on Boxing Day.
Do a video. You can call me on Boxing Day, but I'm not coming on the live anyway. No one's gonna. No. I'll be having too much fun with family, so no. You know.
Oh no.
Yeah. Do a video. Do a Christmas video. Hello, happy Christmas, everyone.
That's what I usually do.
Do that. Don't do an impromptu live. Don't do that. Don't call. If you do, don't call me. You got to do it yourself.
Don't be mean.
Anyway, thank you so much, Christiana.
Thank you once again, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great Christmas once again.
I'm going to end the stream and I'm going to play our house music and then off we go. Bye, everyone. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Every step forward is a new beat to your drum. Achieve success with Global.media.com. Let's celebrate it with or without champagne or rum.